did blunder over the board, but it could have gotten ugly a little bit because I guess Magnus could have maybe tried to wiggle the pieces around in a way that he wouldn't. But, you know, it's all speculation because it didn't come to that. Liren blundered.
Exactly.
But all the other games have just been finished.
Yeah.
Well before the scrambles. And we've got another Roy Lopez.
That time control has had nothing to do with their at-the-board victories or defeats.
And that's really astonishing when you're thinking about Game 10, how incredibly practical these players are about the clock.
And the players are very quickly repeating the line that they've been arguing until A2, A3.
So
Magnus showing just a different little wrinkle.
I thought when we play A3, a lot of times we want to stick our knight on C3.
And then swing it to E2 and G3 and save the tempo, rook F1, E1. Yeah, this is a different little wrinkle. It stopped Ding fully, and he's played knight A5,
bishop
preparing
A2, that's
C5
the point. We want to be able to
expansion.
drop our bishop back to A2. It's a very powerful diagonal in the Roy Lopez. A2 to G8.
In fact, it's so good, it's often neutralized by bishop C8, E6, even at the cost of doubling the pawns. That bishop on A2 really does disturb Black's harmony on his king side. So bishop E6, very common move. And we've seen Levon Aronian being a real specialist on the black side of this defense.
Yeah, some double pawns are awful, but E6 and E5, they do some good things for Black as well. And so we could suspect.
One of the things that stood out to my mind in the game 2 games ago is, remember, there was a white pawn on A5 that Ding captured with his knight, and it showed an incredible error of judgment, in my opinion. Since this is Ding's #1 defense, he has to be very aware of the fact that this knight on A5 can oftentimes find itself on a terrible circuit, isolated, and it's really in Black's best interest to bring this knight back as early as possible to C6, where it's in the action. He hasn't played that. I believe he just played rook F8, E8. Let me just double check.
Rook E8
and not bishop B. Oh, sorry. Let's just see what he did. Okay, C5, right? Rook E1 by Magnus. Knight C6, good move. C3, rook E8, preparing for bishop E6. Now the question is, can knight G5? No, no knight G5. And what has happened?
Knight F1, H6, knight E3.
He was preparing bishop F8 so that his knight can go back to E7.
Good idea.
After in some future demonstration.
Yeah. After knight E3, do we have a move?
Bishop F8.
Bishop F8.
Okay, and that's exactly what you were saying.
And B4 from Magnus.
B2, B4.
And now it's Ding Liren to play.
Very good. Well, again, this bishop on A2 is quite a bothersome piece. Bishop E6, offering the exchange, certainly gets my attention.
Bishop E6 played.
Okay. And now, how is Magnus going to prove an advantage? He dropped his knight in D5. Again, a move that he played 2 moves ago, inviting bishop takes D5, E takes D5. And here the problem is, thanks to the B4 pawn, you can knock out this D6 pawn. For example, knight E7 takes, and if you recapture, this pawn on E5 is weak. So you're not able to take on D5 at once. You can capture on B4, takes, capture now, but in this case, again, a lot of similarities to that game from 2 games ago. In this case, the bishop on A2 still is kind of in an ambush, but is kind of buried behind these pawns on C4 and D5. I'm not sure.
Bishop takes D5 was played
without capturing on B4?
That seems like a surprising decision.
Bishop takes D5, knight takes D5, pawn takes D5. No, pawn takes D5. Yeah.
Right.
Bishop takes D5, pawn takes D5. Yeah.
Yes.
So you thought he would take on B4 first.
Correct. Because I thought that in case
this is not the position, though. He played rook C8.
Okay, let me...
Rook C8, bishop D2 is on the board.
Let me update the position. Okay. Ah, that's what he did. So after knight just dropped into D5, rook C8, bishop D2, and only now takes, not trading on b4, which would have been helpful for white, but not allowing white to play b4, take c5 to knock out the support of this pawn on e5. Looks like c3, c4 is on
Was
tap.
played, lighting up that queen side with multiple pawn exchanges possible,
Lots
but
of
also
tension.
weakening the d4 square permanently. So knight to f5.
Eyeballing the d4 square.
And it's a rich position, a lot of it hinging on the potential of that bishop on a2 to do any kind of damage. And now a4, more
Ratcheting it,
action
yeah,
on that side of the board, trying to somehow get black's position to fall apart on that side. By the way, white is looking to get in ideas like takes on b5 and a5. If he can pull that off and get a pass pawn, there's a lot of liquidation that could occur on that side, and he has captured on a4 directly.
The one move I wouldn't have considered. How about that?
It is not the move I wanted to play.
B
Take
Five
c5
takes-
from Magnus immediately.
takes on c5. Yes. Now you're obliged to take with the rook. Black is going to end up giving himself a very big target.
Rook c5, queen a4 indeed has occurred.
Yeah. And this extra pawn in the center, this one on d3 versus this pawn on a6, very, very favorable for white. This bishop is going to drop back to b1, eyeballing an opportunity to play d5.
He needs some action, Yaz.
Yes, he
that
does.
Bishop on f8 is really annoying me in the long term, and trying to get counterplay for black
It's
in
so
this position looks very hard.
Yes.
What are you supposed to do for counterplay? Your only pawn break is e4. That looks like it's just helping white, in fact, because his bishop will get this beautiful diagonal.
Yeah.
If you don't do that, what else are you supposed to do?
Well, that was why this move, and they're playing very quickly. Liren, 6 minutes on his clock versus a near 7 minutes for Magnus. This move, b5 takes a4, is not a positional move that top grandmasters are known to make. They don't like bad pawn structures. Frankly, this is a bad pawn structure for black.
And he did play e4 because it's the only pawn break in the position, the only way to get some kind of activity. But it felt like by doing it, you're going to give...
You're opening up the position for white.
Exactly.
Yes, it looks like white is the one with the edge here.
Uh-oh.
And I
Bishop
mean,
b1. Oh.
I'm just not impressed by this particular... The last couple of moves by Ding just look completely anti-positional. Taking on
He's
a4.
wobbling here. This is not the Ding Liren we expected.
And bishop b4 has happened, but yeah,
Very
how are we
easy.
going to answer this idea of bishop b1? We're going to have
It's
to
a dual threat.
Rook's gone back to c8.
He's played rook back to c8 as if he's not worried about bishop b1,
Actually,
or in
c2.
fact
C2.
queen c2.
Similar idea.
What was the? Sorry, I'm missing something. What was the defense to bishop b1?
Queen f6.
Well, the
No,
rook on
that's
a1 is
hanging.
protected.
Defended. Everything is defended.
Yeah. I
That looked
mean,
Was
over.
there knight g5, or is there some tricky? I didn't see it.
Knight-
Queen c2 was Magnus's choice. The only reason I can imagine he preferred his queen to his bishop is maybe he saw a different path.
and
for
now
his
queen
bishop.
f6.
But queen
occurred.
f6 now gets played, and you don't win the piece.
So now this is actually a good defense because rook takes e4, queen takes a1.
Aha.
Whereas
Wow,
before,
Magnus normally doesn't miss moves like that one. Gave his opponent
Just
a
great,
chance.
great opportunity
And
there.
no bishop c3, no bishop b1 even.
But what about bishop b3? Just maybe this is what he had in mind, was to post up his bishop on a4 to c6 and just say, hey, look, I got a nibble on a6.
I don't know, he
Deal
played
with it.
he just played
h3.
h3.
He played h3. I can't guess Magnus's move. I thought he would play bishop b1 before, or bishop b3. H2,
And now knight to
h3.
d4. Interesting
Knight
maneuver.
takes d4, queen d4.
Queen
Okay.
takes d4. And now black's pieces suddenly are alive.
Absolutely.
Only bad piece is the bishop on f8, but everybody else looks very coordinated, and that knight on e4 is dominating the bishop on b4.
And the nice
For
thing
the
is you
time
have
being.
queen takes d5, wait, rook d1. You do have this possibility of playing queen takes d5, but what about rook d1?
Rook d1. Now,
Queen b6
I hate stepping in front of the rook,
That's-
so I'd have to probably play your move, queen
for
b6.
counterplay.
What's wrong with
indeed.
queen b6, though?
Nothing.
He's starting to tickle the position in another way, and his knight's headed to c5, his position's fixed. The only thing is
Still,
the
that's
mating
a clear-
idea.
Yes, you can play bishop and bishop.
And this happened, rook d1, queen b6, rook b1.
G6 will always happen. So
Rook
he just played rook to
B1.
b1, and the queen went back to d4, avoiding.
Inviting
What a strange
repetition,
thing. Knight
by
c5
the
looked
way.
natural, but looks like it's fine for him here. And Magnus has no way of improving the position. That's substantial. The knight's going to go to c5. Once the knight gets to c5, that's going to be nice protection.
He's rock solid, all right.
He's going to be solid when he gets. He would love to trade, and there we go. We're seeing a repetition.
And
but Magnus decided
nope.
to not repeat after rook d1 and bishop to a3 now.
Because he wants to clinch in this very game.
That shows you Magnus, the assassin. Sure, I could repeat. I know you want to repeat. I don't think so. I'm trying to win every single game I play.
Yeah,
Queen a5,
that's
continuing the
Maxim-
counterattack.
Magnus the
But now
maximalist.
rook e3, defending.
And
bishop
by
on
the way,
A3.
setting up a potential for all types of pins with bishop e1 and rook e1.
Time to move that knight.
Time to move the knight.
Yeah, bishop b1.
Well,
exactly.
it is the two bishops, better pawn structure, and the contours of a potential attack with bishop b1 staring at
But
black.
G6 is going to happen, though. G6 should slow down that attack, no? Unless you want to
that's a
sack
bit
Well,
of
it
a
G6
depends.
to the rook.
Remember when we were saying in one of the games when the knight was way over on
Yeah,
a5?
yeah, I see it. It's
like,
over
go
there.
ahead, put your knight over on
You're
c5.
right.
Let
You're
me
right.
play rook g3.
You're right. Well, he
let-
played knight f6.
Yeah, let me
So
tell
let
you.
me keep this guy on this side of the board. But
Yeah.
the knight on f6 could be a target.
And
So he did
after-
play it.
You did play it?
Knight
He played rook on d to d3.
And then the other rook. Whoa, he's insisting on his rover action.
Well, he couldn't play rook e1 because there was this queen takes e1
But what about
check,
rook e3? Yeah,
which
rook
has
e3
happened.
and
Rook
rook
e3, rook
e3.
e3 on the board.
The d5 pawn's not hanging? What am I missing?
This queen f. You mean queen takes d5 or
Knight
knight
takes
takes
d5, he means. Well, there's both
Knight
What's wrong with
options.
queen d5?
Knight takes d5, queen f5.
I don't want him to take with my knight. I want to take my queen. The knight needs to sit there. I want to keep everything coordinated. Queen d5, only c5 is bugging my brain. C5 with some weirdies. But you're not-
Ideas of queen g6.
he didn't take it.
He's hesitated. He's
He
played
didn't
rook
take it until he played
e8.
rook e8, trying to get
Maybe
rid of
he
the
didn't
rook.
like take on.
The rook is the defender of the bishop on a3, so this is a logical move too.
So I'm assuming we're going to see a rook takes. Well, we could see bishop c1, but I was thinking we were going to see rook takes, knight takes, and because of the two threats to my bishop as well as the pawn,
Play
Bishop C1
instead.
he did play bishop c1.
Getting his
Fair
bishop
enough.
out of attack.
Well, the bishop's not great on a3.
Trade.
And after a trade, he can now take recapture with the bishop.
Which
What
he
does
did.
white have here?
A little bit of nothing.
Yeah, I mean,
A little bit. And by the way, since nobody's been bothering this, quote, weak pawn, there's potential to
yeah,
play
that
queen
pawn is
e1.
real. That pawn is on the board. I mean, it's not going anywhere, but
But c5 is also on the air.
I'm anticipating queen e1 check, king h2, and a5. And I think Ding has handled his issues well.
are you sure
He's
about
right
this
back.
setup? Bishop d4.
He's down on the clock, though, Yasser, and we saw that was a problem just a couple rounds ago. We'll
in
come
that
back to
rook
haunt him
ending.
again. He has played queen e1
e1.
check, king
He
h2,
sure
of
took his
course.
time to play what looked like a very...
And then he
Whoa,
played queen to
queen
a1.
a1. He didn't bother pushing his pawn.
He wanted to own that diagonal because bishop d4 is an idea. So he wanted to first take ownership over the diagonal. Then
G3.
g3 gets played, and now he pushed his pawn. Magnus plays king g2, very fast, by the way, keeping the pressure on him, forcing him to think about the next move. That's queen.
Queen
drop back
a5,
to
bishop
e5.
b1.
Bishop b1.
All right, no
stopping
threats.
ideas of queen e4 check, by the way.
Yet, no major threats yet. g6, and now that a pawn is going to be on Magnus's mind. I can tell you that.
Exactly.
He's going to be thinking about it. And
Passers are...
Bishop
Played
B6.
bishop b6, harassing the pawn.
It's on his mind? Yes,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was, right away.
Definitely. Queen e1, guarding in an intriguing way as well. But see, giving up that diagonal, and there Magnus went after it with bishop to d4. And now he has to be very careful because
Queen
could
b2.
shift as well and hit the diagonal. So knight back to d7, and now bishop to c3. And wow, what an ingenious way he won this pawn. Just
wow.
incredible. Magnus is a
then there was
sneaky
bishop
and blitz,
c3.
boy. Wow. Well, can you auto-update your game?
Yeah, I've got my auto
Instead?
on.
So we can follow on the.
That was an amazing way to win the pawn.
Yeah, the way he brought his bishop back to c3 and picked off that pawn. Yes, your auto is on. So we're following the game directly now. White is ahead by a pawn.
And he's ahead by a minute and a half on the clock, and that's really the problem. I mean, I don't think Liren will say this. Queen d2.
Well, the good news for Ding Liren's fans is he does really have a good fortress on the dark squares. Knight c5, bishop c2. The light squared bishop is still doing good work, but how do you break down all the dark squares for black? Queen f6, very good play by Ding.
And he just went into the endgame directly, saying, how do you win? Even if his bishop is forced to move, Magnus now bringing his king to the other side. This one looks just about impossible to win. But what will he play?
This is Magnus, though, right? I mean, we believe in his endgame abilities. It's extraordinary.
G5 being very concrete on that side.
How will Magnus make...
Okay, check out that H-pawn, because I'm starting to notice...
It's potentially weak. It's
H5
isolated.
Pawn, better watch it, because bishop D1 will... Okay.
King G6,
D1,
of course.
He got the memo.
Here we see a close-up on the clock, just a minute and 15 for Ding Liren.
The bishop is about to retreat to F6 just to make sure there's
no bishop H4.
Yeah, and notice that black's piece is fortress-like on the queen side.
Jeez, it took him a long time to play bishop C3.
White's king can't break through on the king side.
Why not bishop
queen
D4?
side, pardon me.
Why not just... Oh, wait. Bishop E7 is a threat.
Yeah, so he had to play bishop F6.
And by the way, he played very, very quickly. I thought it was in white, pardon me, in black's interest.
Now he's doing it again.
Now he's going after C7 square for the bishop.
To put the bishop back to F6, back to E7.
Attacking the pawn.
What? Why did he do it?
He just wanted to get the white king to move away so that his own knight can move.
He's
bishop
thinking
C7.
of another fortress setup. He wants to put his bishop on C5 and his knight on F6.
He better do it quickly, and his knight is now there.
And his bishop to C5.
And now Magnus has to bring his king all the way around to the other side. New plan with only 44 seconds left.
What about the F4 pawn?
Magnus has defended.
He's threatening bishop E3. Big alert. Now it's time to bring the king back.
How do you need a move?
King F6.
Oh, he's going to go to E2 now after that F pawn, so he defended it. He cannot win the F pawn. And he's only got 29 seconds with lots of decisions to make.
He's got to go back to E4.
He's capturing. Look at Magnus grab a piece right at this moment, but now his king back on this side, and that knight is starting to get trapped. And he's dropping the pawn, but Magnus doesn't take it just yet, and now he's defending, and the knight has to come back out of there with only 20 seconds to Magnus's 2 minutes. Magnus just milking every which way. Now challenging the bishop.
Now there's a C5 potential for C5 and D6.
Yes, that is definitely lurking, and it might be the moment. First king E3,
this
and the king dropping back.
Endgame magic by Magnus.
17 seconds left. It's also pressure, time pressure. He's just keeping it on him, and any moment C5 could happen, but not just yet.
No.
Magnus with 134, king over. Where do you put your king? He needs a move.
And look,
dropped his knight back. Big move. He's threatening to take that bishop. If he gets the bishop, check. Where do you put the king?
And bishop D8.
Only 11 seconds to make a decision, and bishop's got to go to D8, no? Oh, but he'll drop his F pawn.
He's going bishop D. He's going after the pawn on D6. What's that? Oh, the bishop on H5 is hanging. Sorry.
But there's no time.
6 seconds left, and Magnus thinking about the position. Magnus wants to make an aggressive move, I'll tell you, and he's playing it. C5. He wanted to make an aggressive move. 2 seconds only, and Magnus can stop and play with chess pieces right now because it doesn't matter. You see him relaxed. He just has to make
he's
one
going to win the
move.
game on time.
Just dropped his knight back.
The match.
Took the pawn.
1 second left. In 1 more second, Magnus Carlsen will win this showdown.
Knight
in St.
D6.
Louis.
He takes on H4, and that is it.
And there he is. Magnus Carlsen, the world champion, has clinched his match against world championship candidate Ding Liren with a game and a day to spare. Wow. 1 game, 1 day to spare. He's clinched this match. He has won his championship showdown.